Your pace, our protection. At Howden, we understand tech startups and scale-ups need insurance that moves with them. From launch to exit, we cover it all, adapting to your growth. No limits, no boundaries, just people-first insurance built for innovators like you. Howden, with you every step of the way.
Welcome to the Cambridge Tech Podcast, talking all things technology from the heart of the UK's tech capital. Here are your hosts, Faye Holland and James Parton.
I'm Faye.
And I'm James. So Faye, how's your week been this week?
It's not bad. It's that painfully mad rush to the end of the year, just trying to get everything done and over the line, isn't it? So it's definitely that, and quite a lot of follow-up still from the announcement the week before. I went to a really nice founders dinner in one of the university colleges. It was Magdalen College, and it's one of the only dining rooms that doesn't allow electricity. So this time of year, it's absolutely beautiful because it's all festive and candlelit. So that was lovely.
Do you say doesn't allow electricity?
Yeah, there's no electricity in the room at all.
What's the logic behind that then?
I don't know. It's just, I guess, to make it quintessentially different to anywhere else. I'm sure there is a wise answer. Please, everyone, send it in on a postcard, and we'll let everyone know at some point. And I saw you last Thursday as well. You had the carols, didn't you, at the Trinity Bradfield Centre? And I nearly passed out because I was really singing quite vociferously. Can you sing vociferously? Who knows? And I was like, flipping heck, I'm going a bit lightheaded here. But I did. I was harmonising. I was really enjoying myself.
Yeah, it was lovely, wasn't it?
It was great.
Yeah, huge thank you to the Trinity Choir who came in to make us all feel festive in the Bradfield Centre, which was lovely.
Did you get up to anything else other than singing carols?
Yeah, I mean, it was another week of just kind of running around, catching up with people, getting some work done, singing carols. Yeah, it was nothing major, I don't think, to focus on, but yeah, as you say, just trying to wrap everything up ahead of the break that's coming up.
Well, let's hope everyone's weeks are full of carols for the next couple as well, mixed in with deadlines. Let's cover the news then. So first up, we have news that Liz Upton, who's the co-founder and major driving force behind the global growth of Cambridge microcomputer innovator Raspberry Pi, is hoping to perform similar feats to turbocharge the robotics industry now. And that industry alone is tipped to reach $260 billion valuation by 2030, which is amazing. So Liz has become chair of a Sheffield-based but universal robotics software company called BOW, which stands for Bettering Our World. And they make it possible for any software developer to create and deploy robotic applications and manage robots.
Fabulous. Cambridge tech entrepreneurs Rafi Farooq and co-founder Nitesh Mithra are targeting massive international growth for their startup Genie.AI. The legal AI startup told Business Weekly it's aggressively hiring for expansion, initially in the UK, but then to the United States and over time Europe and Middle East. Founded in 2017, Genie.AI recently raised $17.8 million from Californian investors GV, obviously Google Ventures, and Kushler Ventures alongside London's Connect Ventures.
Pragmatic Semiconductor have named chip industry expert James Davey to lead the company's commercial efforts as Senior VP of Sales, Business Development and Product Management. He succeeds Alistair Hanlon, who will continue to support the business in an advisory role.
And lastly, congratulations to Rishi Wang, who we recently spoke to in episode 93. The company Epsilon has raised $6.6 million of Series A investment led by M Ventures, which is a strategic corporate venture arm of science and technology company Merck. M Ventures is joined by new investors Bioprocess 360 Partners and Untitled Ventures, along with BGF and R42 Group with other existing investors.
Yeah, great news for Rushi there and the rest of the team. So now we have a great episode for you with entrepreneur Dr. Raoul-Gabriel Urma, who both of us know, James. You know him from the Bradfield Centre, and I reminded him that we sat on a panel about 7 years ago with Kieran Dunn and Anne Bailey. So let's talk to Raoul.
So, Raoul, thanks for taking the time. It's been ages since I've seen you. How have you been keeping?
Yeah, good. Good to see you, James. It's been a while.
It has.
Keeping well.
Good to have you back. So why don't we start with getting to know you a little bit better and some of your kind of early background. When did you first get into technology and coding?
Probably before I was born, right? My parents, I guess, they were in tech before me. My dad's an engineer. Mum is an economist. So, my dad got a computer in the house when I was 5 or 6 years old, and that was the start of the journey. I started playing games. I'm sure you'll recall Civilization, Age of Empire, all those really cool games. So I started with that and then kind of got hooked, in the tech space.
Nice. And then that led to a pretty blue chip academic career, if you don't mind me saying so. So you've been at Stanford, Oxford, Imperial, and then you came to Cambridge to do your PhD. Give us a quick synopsis of that little path there.
All super accidental, to be honest. So, I was raised in Belgium, and in Belgium, the way education works is that it's very generalistic. In high school, you study every subject, right, from maths to history to religion to French. Whereas in England, I think what's really interesting, it's more specialized. Even in high school, you get to pick A-levels. But at universities, it's also more specialized. You get to choose to do computer science from day one. Whereas in Belgium, that path was not available, actually. The track for me was essentially another 3 years of generalistic engineering education, because that's what I was interested in. So, I looked around, and my journey started at Imperial College in London, studied computer science, which was really interesting because I got to do what I'm passionate about from day one. So I feel really privileged that I managed to do that. So I think the British education system is really good for that. You specialize early on if that's what you want to do. Did 4 years at Imperial, realized fairly early on, I'm not quite ready to work for the rest of my life. I kind of like the student life, with all the social life attached to it. So I thought, well, let's keep studying. I was really interested in research in my last year of uni. My master's supervisor encouraged me to go and do a PhD. So that's kind of like, the path I took. Cambridge has some really amazing research capability and academic staff in a subject I'm interested in particular. So at the time it was software engineering, compilers research. Interviewed here, met my PhD supervisor called Professor Alan Mycroft. He's one of the trustee and co-founder of the Raspberry Pi Foundation. We immediately hit it off, even though he felt like, that old uncle that has like cookies ready for you and talk about anything. So we immediately hit it off, and then started in Cambridge 2011 on a PhD track. I have really, really fond memories.
I mean, as well as the top universities on your CV, when you look at your LinkedIn, when I was doing a little bit of research for this, you also had a number of intern positions at some really top tier companies. So Google, Oracle, Goldman Sachs. We have a lot of students, researchers listening to the podcast. It'd be interesting just to get a little bit of your take on, what you learned from those internships. Maybe it was that you didn't want to work for a corporate and you wanted to start your own business. I don't know. But, explain how you got those opportunities and what you took for them.
Yeah, truth, I'd love to tell you that, I had everything figured out. And, the truth is I didn't. When I was at uni, at the time, you kind of follow what your friends are doing and what the general trend is, right? So back in 2009, 10, it's kind of like banking was, the thing. I think that the tech industry wasn't quite as hot yet. So banking was the thing. So, I really believe in life. You just got to try stuff out, explore, and eventually you'll figure out what's right for you. At the time, I didn't know what was right for me. So I followed what my friends were doing, the trend. So I took an industrial placement in banking at Goldman Sachs. That taught me a lot of things. That also taught me what I don't want to do, right? So it taught me what the corporate environment is like, what it is to be in a multinational. But also personally, I realized I wanted something a bit more fast-paced, maybe something a bit more innovative, where you can kind of break rules and kind of do what you want, right? And so the sort of the big corporate environment wasn't for me, but you can totally understand it's the right place for some people that want to, maybe build a career over a long time. So on that, and then Google, during my PhD, obviously in 2011, 2015, Google was a really hot company. and arguably still is, but at the time, especially in the field that I was interested in, which was source code analysis, compilers, program optimization. Google is like a powerhouse in programming languages, so that's kind of like what got me to apply and take an internship. And also I want to experience something outside of UK. I think, any advice I can give to maybe listeners, like you said, is it's important to learn from different industries, but also different cultures and countries. So it's kind of like appealing to go to Silicon Valley, right? If you're in tech, it's kind of like you kind of want to see what it's like. You hear a lot about it. So that's what led me to try and get an internship. Somehow got lucky, did all the interviews and so on. Managed to be there for 6 months, living the California life, learning a lot, meeting cool people. And then, came out of that experience, the big company is just not for me. I felt like I was, a little cog, right? In a huge monster engine. And felt like, well, you know what? Even though I'm excited about the work I'm doing, it doesn't seem that impactful in the grand scheme of things, right? You're like one person in one team, as part of many teams, as part of one department, which is part of many departments, which is part of a division, So
Yeah.
I was like, well, I just want to work on my terms, on my pace, and feel like I'm having an impact every day. So that kind of led me to, let's go with the startup life, really.
At least you tried those different companies. And I think it's important to do that. And it gives you, like you say, a view of what you don't want as well as what you do want. So let's jump forward now. We're going to go to 2014 and you find yourself the founder and CEO of Cambridge Coding Academy. So what made you decide that, coding, obviously there's ongoing gaps that need addressing in that, and we'll come on to talk about that a little bit more later. How did you find yourself founding that particular company at that time?
Yeah, good question. A couple of things. One, I've always been passionate about education since I was a kid, right? So I was telling you about those games I was playing. I was creating a website to teach kids how to play games, just purely out of, it's just cool to learn from others, and equally cool to teach others, because you learn something out of that process. So education's been a fundamental part of my life, and so has technology. So I would start with that. Then, secondly, I've always felt really grateful that I've picked up skills that enable me to build things, whatever it is, whether it's a website, a web app, a game. So it only felt natural to help others get those skills so they can translate their ideas into reality, right? By building digital things, whether it's a game, a website, and so on. And then finally, at the time, and it's probably even more true today, the way I like to think about it is the most spoken language in the world is not English or Spanish or Chinese, etc. It's computer code. It's ones and zeros that are abstracted away into a computer language. So to me, at the time, I felt incredibly powerful. So if you take those three ideas, it kind of felt natural to start a company to teach kids how to code, because it's an important skill. And I always felt grateful that I could acquire that skill early on. It's as simple as that.
What do you think were the biggest achievements out of starting that? Was it the results of how many people were coming through? Was it the fact you could do something tangible to make a change?
A couple of things. So one is from an impactful point of view. It's just so cool to see kids that didn't code before that suddenly could create their own game in like a day or two and come up with the ideas and really feel empowered. I don't have kids, but it's pretty cool to see a kid learning something new that, you've actually provided somehow, right? And then, the question they would ask and the ideas they would have, you just kind of learn from it. So I thought that was really rewarding. And, we scaled that from a day workshop to week-long summer schools to online programs and so on. So I thought that was really rewarding. Then on a personal basis, it was my first proper business, bootstrapped, where you have to go through the whole cycle of how do you go to market, who's your customer, how do you make it viable, how do you scale a business. So on a personal basis, I learned a lot. And that set me up quite nicely for my next adventure, really.
Before we go on to that, which James is going to start talking about in a moment, were there any moments in that first journey when you decided to go the entrepreneurial route that you went, oh, it was very different in the corporate route? Did you ever look back and go, that might have been slightly easier or not?
Good question. I think what was really interesting about doing a PhD and doing research is that you're already somewhat autonomous. Like, you're in charge of your own research agenda. You have to demonstrate your value. It's not dissimilar in a startup, right? You're almost on your own and you have to figure things out and you have to prove value all the time if you want to survive. So I think that was really helpful. Compared to the corporate world, it's just the startup life is so much faster and you have to figure out how to do more with less. What's really good about the corporate life, which, you miss that in startup life, is there's a ton more support in the ecosystem, right? Like, if you've got a problem, you can ask somebody next to you or your manager or, there's like peers and mentors and so on to help you out, right? If you do a company, a startup, you don't have that. However, if you're part of a rich community ecosystem, you can also get access, right? So maybe, support, resources obviously more readily available in the corporate world.
So continuing that journey then, we're around August 2016 now, which is when you formed Cambridge Spark. So tell us about the formation story of Cambridge Spark and we'll kind of dig into how you built that business, because obviously that's what you're doing right now.
So Cambridge Coding Academy was very much a B2C business, right? So you sell to consumers, ultimately, parents and kids, to take on training courses. And you could see that the market is really big. But as an in-person business, we were relying very much on kind of seasonality, kind of more like summer camps, winter camps, with in-person facilities. So at some point, it became quite hard to scale up that business without probably serious funding. And at the same time that was happening, there was a realization that the professional market, the business opportunity was essentially bigger purely on a price point of view. Because there's so much investment you can make in your children's education from a financial point of view, and you're limited to comparables. Whereas in the professional market, the numbers typically tend to be attached to business outcomes, P&L an organization has to deliver on, jobs with salary bands. So the numbers are naturally much higher compared to the B2C, sort of children market. So, that realization made it clear to me that, there's a good opportunity here to tackle a market that essentially has a bigger TAM, and the viability felt more compelling. And, in terms of impact, on the children market, the impact is really giving you skills to equip you for life, to equip you for your next stage, which might be further education. Whereas for the professional market, the impact is help you get a new job, help you get promoted. So the impact is in a way easier to quantify. And those were really attractive properties, right, to why you would start a new business. And the demand for tech skill exploded over the years. So, there's kind of like a few ingredients like that, if you put a business hat on, an entrepreneur hat on, made it really attractive. So that's kind of why I decided to create Cambridge Spark, take some of the lessons from Cambridge Coding Academy, try to make it work.
And you're focusing on AI and data transformation through the kind of training you deliver into these corporate clients. Was that always from day one the case? Or was it trying to teach kind of more general coding skills to corporate clients? Has that evolved, or has it always been AI and data transformation focused from the beginning?
Good question. So we go back in time, obviously now data and AI is like obvious, it's everywhere. But in 2016, wasn't exactly the case, right? At the time, I think HBR made the data scientist the sexiest job in the world. So, there was already some literature at the time. But yes, Cambridge Spark started very much with data science first. So, very technical. At the time, it was about help you become a data scientist in 6 months, right? So we would run like in-person boot camps to help you fast-track your career, teaching Python, data processing skills, machine learning skills, and so on. So way before the whole thing exploded, right? That's how we got to to start, right? By going top-end data science skills. And then slowly but surely, data science evolving, we need to equip our workforce not with like super technical data science skills, but actually data literacy skills. Everyone has to think about data. The way you make decisions have to be backed by data. How can you improve something you can't measure? So you need really a data-driven workforce. So kind of pivoted towards more of a comprehensive data upskilling solution. And then AI, machine learning was already adopted and accepted, right? If we go 2020, 21, not that many startups were calling themselves AI startups back then, right? That kind of like only maybe the last 2 years or so that really the whole thing exploded. So that led to the natural next evolution for Cambridge Spark, which is, the whole world is changing now with AI. So you need skills for that too. Fundamentally, AI relies on good data foundation. So it's kind of a nice complement. So that's why we're here today where we are.
Good timing for you guys. I mean, you've been ahead of the curve a couple of times just in that short space of time since 2016.
It feels that way, but it wasn't always, didn't always feel that way.
And you've actually built out your own learning platform as well, haven't you?
Yeah.
So you actually got product as well as, the kind of materials, the teaching materials. You've actually got your own software products as well, right? Do you want to explain a little bit about that?
Yeah. Unusual, in startups, you either go tech first, but then you need serious funding to figure that out, or you go service first, and then, you build the tech on top. Strangely, kind of did both at the same time. So you couldn't really push on one or the other too much. But so our platform is called EDUKATE.AI. And the fundamental problem we solve is that in a technical field, you need to learn by doing. You can't really learn from slides, videos, and quizzes. At the end of the day, you have to write code, you have to debug code, you have to interact with systems. And, in the commercial airline industry, they've got it good, right? They've got a flight simulator to really help pilot get the skills, face situations they might face before they get on the plane. So we wanted to build the equivalent simulator, but for data scientists, machine learning engineers. So that's fundamentally what our platform is all about. It's a sandbox environment that lets you code, practice your skills in an industry environment. You get instant feedback on what you do, but it really bridges the gap between learning and ROI in industry because we use the same tools, the same errors, the same situations. So that's been pretty cool to build a product from day one that we're excited about. Some of my PhD research was repurposed, so I can say I got value from the PhD as well. So that's a good story. And the platform's been 8 years now since we've been tweaking it. We're celebrating our 1 million code submission actually this month. So students submitted 1 million times and got code feedback 1 million times. So that's pretty cool.
So that triggers a couple of supplementary questions, and I'll let Faye come back in. Obviously, building and maintaining a platform is not a small task. So I guess 2 questions. The first question is, did you raise money to enable that, or were you able to bootstrap the business? And then the second, roughly speaking, in terms of the headcount in the organization, what's the split of engineers and people supporting the platform versus people delivering and developing training content?
You might be surprised by the answer, James. So Cambridge Spark is fully bootstrapped to this day, so never raised a single penny. And that was the right thing to do with hindsight. How did we get there? We got a lot of support from, different people and organizations. So, one person I'd like to give a shout out is Hanadi Jabado. She really helped me when I was getting started, offering a mentorship and a first free hot desk at the business school. Then got a lot of support from the Bradfield Center with the community, the ecosystem, and discounted rates, for the offices, which, are massively important when you bootstrap, right? When you bootstrap, every penny matters. Thereafter, Innovate UK has been an amazing organization for us because we managed to get, £400,000 of R&D as a grant to finance the development of a platform. When you're getting started and you have no money, you have to fund tech, this is just literally life-changing, right? Yeah. Then Innovate UK came back and gave us 1 million as a loan, as an innovation loan. And I think that's an undervalued financial instrument in the startup ecosystem. Everybody tends to jump on the angel and VC route, but there's alternatives that are non-dilutive and really attractive. And loan from Innovate UK really helped us. That's how we managed to bootstrap and fund, frankly, the tech investment, where typically you don't see an ROI until quite later on, right? So that was really helpful. Then in terms of the split, you're going to be really surprised by this. So Cambridge Spark is roughly 160 full-time employees today. And the software engineering team is less than 10 people. Oh. If we bundle it with the product team, you're probably roughly talking 15 to 20 people compared to 160.
Yeah.
So the 160, half is very much delivery operation. We deliver an educational service. So we have coaches, mentors, teachers that are supporting students on a one-on-one basis with virtual classrooms. And this is augmented with our tech platform. So we never went in by, we're going to be a platform-first company. We're an education-first company that is tech-enabled, so we can provide better education through the support of our platform. So it really complements our delivery.
So just staying on that theme at the moment, does that help, because you've got those diverse skills in the organisation, does that help you to scale more easily? So for example, a lot of the people we talk to on the podcast, they're looking for certain types of tech expertise, whereas you're looking more across the board. So how does that affect your recruitment?
So we hire across a variety of roles. We hire mentors, coaches, teachers, software engineers, product managers, sales, across the full spectrum. And I think what makes us unique is fundamentally tech is in our DNA, right? Even though we provide education, we build our technology from day one. So we're in an environment where every problem we try to solve as a service is always powered by tech, whether it's a way to give personalized feedback to students based on the assignments, or, for example, now all our one-on-one calls that mentors and coaches have are recorded, transcribed, summarized, automatically uploaded to a platform so employers can see the progress of their workforce. It's all possible through technology and by enabling the delivery and operations team to work with the tech team. So I think that's what makes us quite special. So I do agree in, bring people from a variety of background, both from education or from pure tech. It's actually working out quite nicely for us.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to ask a question on the customer base just in a moment, but what I did want to jump back to other people we've had on the podcast who've also talked about the importance of Innovate UK and grant funding and those kinds of things. So like Flit, Heartfelt Technologies, companies like that have definitely gone down that route and seen benefits. And even big, other companies like New Quantum, they've got funding, but they've also gone for the Innovate UK kind of grant. So I think that's a really important message to get over to people. But one thing that would definitely have helped you in your progress is the list of clients that you've got. So the M&S's, BBC, NHS, Lloyds Banking Group, EasyJet, a really broad base of clients. So how do you go out and get them? Is it just the credentials? Is it, what is your approach?
Yeah, good questions. I mean, the first 4 years of Cambridge Spark were a B2C company, but selling to employees. And then kind of like naturally, if you're interested in those skills and you work somewhere, it should be of benefit to your organization, right? So they kind of pivoted to B2B. And then COVID happened. So what happened there is, every employer's kind of like woke up to the need for digital skills and needed to educate their workforce. So that's kind of how the B2B journey started. Then how do you sell to this audience? Well, I had to pick up every sales book I could find during COVID and learn, right? At the end of the day, I did computer science. I never studied sales. So you have to figure it out of survival. But I would say what works really well in terms of advice I could give to maybe tech founder is the founder-led approach works unbelievably well. At the end of the day, people want to buy from people. People want to be actually supporting a good story, right? So supporting a founder trying to, make a difference. So I leaned on that. So I would literally go on LinkedIn, send 50 messages a day and like, hey, I'm Raoul. This is the problem with the industry. I wonder how that resonates with you. And I would, approach heads of data science, directors of data analytics, and try and figure it out, right? So, at the end of the day, just founder-led outbound. Obviously, you get 90% message that gets ignored. That sucks. But the 10%, you can cherish it, right? And then the 10%, you might get 20% of that. But eventually you get to this one client, this one person that's like, willing to buy into you, and got lucky that our first major client was GSK. And then we start delivering good work. So that's the next thing you need to do, right? After you've sold your first real deal, you need to demonstrate value and you need to throw everything you've got at it. You can't escape that. And then you can piggyback on that afterwards. So your next outreach, you can say, hey, we work with GSK and this is the ROI they're saying, why wouldn't you want this ROI as well, right? And then we managed to land the Financial Conduct Authority, then Pfizer, and then at some point you get this traction and snowball effect. But yeah, at the end of the day, if you're a tech founder, I really believe you gotta suck it up and learn sales and go for the founder-led approach. I don't think anything beats that when you get started, at least.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And I think that's great insights for people listening as well. So sticking on you personally at the moment, something that became obvious just looking through your profile was that both in Cambridge Coding Academy and Cambridge Spark, you transitioned from the CEO role to the chairperson role. And we actually asked a similar question to Ray Anderson of Bango in the Cambridge Tech Week episode 105, which was, how do you know that it's the right time to make that move with a certain, you've done it twice, with a certain signals that you were following? Did something happen?
Yeah, really good question. I mean, so we grew really fast, right? So since 2020, we've been growing 2x year on year. So you got to imagine this environment where literally every 3 months you have to reinvent your company almost, right? Like even your go-to-market approach, the founder-led outbound messages, it's not going to work if you want a 10x, right? So you kind of have to reinvent your go-to-market. With more clients means that, your operations, your delivery, your tech, everything has to get upgraded. And, it doesn't get better, right? Like with high growth, you just got to keep doing that. So, at some point it came realization I wasn't enjoying the operational side anymore, because growing a company from, I think we're 10 people in 2020 to 160 now, there's different evolutions, right? When you're 10, when you're 20, you can make things happen by literally like making things happen and like a Slack message or a conversation. When we hit the 100 milestone, they say that this is kind of time where it gets hard to remember everyone's names. And then it reached a point where I see on Slack a new member joined. I'm like, who is this person? I didn't even know we were hiring this person, right? Like, what do they do, right? Like, it's kind of like shocking to say that, but at some point, that's what happens. And, I wasn't enjoying all the setting up all the system and processes that are very much required in order to keep a fast-growing company perform, right? Things like performance management, super important when you're at certain scale. When you're like 10 people, you don't really think about performance management. You just think about, let's just get stuff done, whatever that is. And no one has targets. It's like, the target change every month anyway, depending on whatever events happen, right? If a client lands on your desk, like forget about the target. Let's see how we service this client, because we don't have that many anyway, right? So, came to realization that setting all the systems in place, putting the data infrastructure, providing the clarity, that wasn't things that, I wake up in the morning and I can say, I'm feeling pumped about, What gets me pumped up in the morning is, our mission, our clients, our product, the innovation, how do we grow, how do we take over the world, those are the things that gets me excited. So that led to the decision to look to hire someone that has more operational expertise and experience at the scale that we are at, right? And the direction of travel is we're going to keep growing. So to me, it was quite important to bring the experience in, make sure that we're solid, and I can keep focusing on the stuff that gets me excited, really, and get the best of the two worlds.
So it sounds like you certainly get the enjoyment out of more the strategic piece. So what does your typical day look like now then in your new chair role?
Yeah, so a lot of thinking about the next stage of growth for us. So I'm thinking a lot about international expansion right now. So you never know, I might make a comeback. So I'm thinking about new markets in Europe.
Is that an exclusive for the podcast there?
Who knows? Lots of thinking happening right now. I'm excited about our growth journey. I think our journey in UK, we've got a lot more to do, but I'm also excited about the rest of the world. And I think, the need for data and AI skills, the need for the workforce to evolve in the age of AI is global. So that's what's keeping me up at night right now. So my day-to-day is a lot of thinking. Right now, with the end of the year, obviously reviews, strategy, budget, and all of that. So kind of like the day-to-day topics.
I mean, this isn't the question I was going to ask you, but I'll just squeeze it in between. The impact of AI and its implications for the workforce are mainstream news now, right? You switch the news on at 10 p.m. and it's in everyone's consciousness. So does that mean you're getting a lot of inbound interest now, or was it still a tough sales-driven outbound process? Have you seen a shift, or is it still a hard work to generate these opportunities?
Great question. I think, in the past, you'd have to educate about why care about data and AI. I think we're beyond that now. So I think employees and employees are, very aware of why care. In terms of going to market, I believe if you want to grow, you still got to throw everything at it, right? So for sure, we've got an increase of inbound, but that's a byproduct of investing more in marketing, investing more in lead generation, and ramping up those efforts. At the same time, a B2B organization, you need a proper enterprise engine and the cadence around it. So you still need to do outbound, but with a BDR team, with account-based marketing, and so on. So I guess to answer your question, we are seeing more demand, but we're still investing even more so in going to market, especially if there's more demand. Now is the time to really go for it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely double down on that. So I want to go back to something you mentioned much earlier, actually, and you were talking about, obviously you have a passion for technology, but also a passion for education. What do you think, obviously you capture people in the B2B area where they're developing skills. What are your views on how STEM subjects are taught earlier on? And do you think that things should change there?
Well, simple answer, yeah. I think fundamentally the whole way we teach has to change. Look, with AI now, like it's crazy, right? Like you have the 24/7 tutor that has the world's collective intelligence. I mean, that's reality, right? Like even I was debating UBI, Universal Basic Income, with my partner, and ChatGPT was right there on the phone, right? And we're just talking it through, and we're both learning lots of stuff out of the conversation, perspective I hadn't considered. So it's really crazy for me to think that, at least in university, high school, that still the best we can do is put lots of people into a classroom in front of one person and listen for an hour and then go do some written assignment. That's outrageous. Like it's, it is what we've got, but the opportunity to do so much better and accelerate learning outcomes for students and personalized learning for them is massive. So we've got to do it. So it's highly frustrating that it takes a long time to change an industry. And, this is why I think we need more startup, more private companies to kind of like, let's push, and hopefully something's going to happen. But, if I put myself I would love to be a kid today. When I was learning back then, I was just on my own. Wikipedia just became a thing, right? So it's kind of like, that was like game changer. But you still have to like ask questions and search and so on Google and so on. It would take forever. Now you get answers so fast. So imagine how fast you could learn. So yeah. STEM education, I think, has the opportunity to evolve by providing more interactive simulations, by providing faster feedback to students, by personalizing depending on the interest, and find your passion earlier on as well, right? Like if education is slow, you find what you're interested in slower too. So why wouldn't we want to make it better? And I think we can and we should, and probably needs some government incentive to make it all happen somehow.
I mean, you've given us a couple of glimpses into what you're thinking about right now, but what are you most excited about as we look into 2025?
Well, on the technology point of view, I'm really excited about the whole agentic workflow space, the whole Gen AI agents. Again, I think it's going to empower people and companies to do more faster. So we should see some amazing breakthrough out of it, whether it's innovation, customer experience, research breakthrough, all of that space I think is fascinating. Nobel Prizes with AI today. That's crazy, right? So hopefully we're going to see more good stories that help the world. That's on the tech side. On the personal side, I'm excited for Cambridge Spark growth next year. We've got some new clients that we'll be announcing. We're exploring new markets, as I've said. So there's a ton to think about and keep myself intellectually stimulated. Yeah.
Well, it's been great talking to you. My last question to you, I'm going to start with a story.
Yeah, cool.
So this is a story. I'm actually doing it in like Jack and Ori style as well here. This is a story of two busy people who sit down and go, I know, let's start a podcast. And so these people start this thing called Cambridge Tech Podcast. I then, in November, see a post that Hanadi shared, actually, you mentioned Hanadi earlier, that you are starting a podcast, which has now done its first series. So my question is, are you mad? And the serious question is, how's it going?
Yeah, great. What is madness, I guess, to put a question back? Hey, I'm really excited about the podcast. So season 1 just finished. Podcast is the Data and AI Mastery podcast. So there's really two problems in the industry that I'm seeing. One, executives and boards, there's a lot of anxiety about the ROI of data and AI. Everyone talks about it, but still, what can we actually do with it? What's the business impact, the business outcomes? So chief data officers and chief AI officers are having quite a hard time because they have to kind of sell what they're doing and justify ROI. So that's one bucket. The other bucket, you've got people that are building a career in the data AI space that have an opportunity to be inspired by a senior leader. What does it take to progress your career and go to the next step? So the aim of the podcast is to help those two audiences, right? By interviewing senior data and AI leaders, ask them about their careers, how did they get to where they are, to inspire the next generation, and also what are the use cases that you're working on and what does it take to deliver impact to also educate the industry. And frankly, I'm really enjoying it. You always learn something. It's all about education, learning. So I'm finding those conversations really stimulating.
I mean, it's great to share those journeys. That's what we do all the time. And obviously, we wish you all the best of luck with it. But my final comment then is it's also caused anarchy because you've got video, you've got explosions, you've got little magical sparkles, and James wants that now on this podcast. So that's causing me a whole heap more problems.
Podcast envy now.
Amazing. Amazing.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks for having me. Really enjoyed it.
Today's show was produced by Carl Homer of Cambridge TV and supported by our media partner, Business Weekly. The Cambridge Tech Podcast is available on all major podcast platforms and on cambridgetechpodcast.com. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please give it a 5-star review. It'll really help others discover the show.